All right, everyone, welcome back again to every 21 Pilots song explained. Today we're going to be looking at all the tracks on the album Vessel, the third 21 Pilots album. Vessel truly saw the band come into their own and establish themselves worldwide in the alt-rock scene. Vessel was the band's first release under the record label Fueled by Ramen, and it was released in January of 2013. The album cover features two elderly gentlemen wearing similar outfits, and these gentlemen are Tyler and Josh's grandfathers.
Those guys are our grandfathers. One, we've never seen that before, and we thought that would be cool to put our grandpas on the CD cover. Two, it kind of goes along with the title of the album, which is vessel. And when I think of that word, I think of kind of an outward thing that's holding something a lot more important. Like, if you think about our bodies someday will age, whether it's nice or not. And we hope to be as old as those guys someday and still doing what we love and being able to say what it is that we want to say with our music. So.
With this album in particular, they released a commentary on the album in which you can listen to the behind the scenes info and inspiration to each of the songs. I'd recommend listening to that alongside of your listen through the regular track list. Vessel is comprised of 12 songs and has a runtime of 47 minutes. As previously mentioned in their Regional at Best video, some of the songs that are technically on the album Regional at Best found their final home on this record due to complications in the band's recording signing process. And fun fact, since its release, it's consistently sold 1,000 physical copies a week since 2013, and this album also went platinum in July of 2016. In many ways, Vessel is thematically similar to a combination of both the self-titled and Regional at Best albums, as we see Tyler to continue to struggle with his faith in God, other people, and battling his own mental demons. Lyrically, we see Tyler going the deepest he has as of yet into his own introspection and laying bare all of his flaws and shortcomings. We also see the duo expand their mentality established in Kitchen Sink into songs like Guns for Hands, Car Radio, and Truce. And as always, in no way am I trying to completely explain all these songs or what they mean. This analysis is just my opinion, so if the song means something different for you, that's okay. But don't get mad at me in the comments. Vessel is a fan favorite album for many, and for many of the band's fans, and many see it as their best or favorite work. And despite technically not being in the lore itself, this album and its contents would play a pivotal role in the final record pertaining to the Blurryface lore, specifically in Breach. But without further ado, let's jump into the first track, Ode to Sleep. Ode to Sleep. Ode to Sleep is the first song on the record and runs for 5 minutes and 8 seconds. Ode to Sleep is one of the band's favorite songs to play live and is very much an undefinable track in terms of sound, yet it sets the precedent for the rest of the record. It mixes a lot of genres and styles, but it's very electronic, similar to Regional at Best, but a little bit more experimental. There is a music video for this track which details the band playing this song for the first time live in front of maybe a dozen people, and it shows their journey towards playing the song for over 1,000 people. And this song was actually decided by a small hometown group of fans who the band let put their suggestions into a hat for Tyler and Josh to decide what would be the best fit for the song, in Ode to Sleep 1. Let's go into the first verse. I wake up fine and dandy, but by the time I find it handy to rip my heart apart and start planning my crash landing, I go up, 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 up to the ceiling. Then I feel my soul start leaving, like an old man's hair receding. I'm pleading please, oh please, on my knees, repeatedly asking why it's got to be like this. Is this living free? I don't want to be the one who has the sun's blood on my hands. I'll tell the moon. Take this weapon forged in darkness. Some see a pin, I see a harpoon. In the morning, Tyler feels fine, but as the day progresses, the anxieties and fears of the day begin to weigh down on him, like a balloon losing helium slowly falling back to the ground. He compares his soul or life fading as a man's hair receding. I believe that this speaks to his soul leaving as the day wears on, but also as he grows older in age. We've already seen in the past record, like Regional at Best, how growing up and leaving childhood behind has had a profound impact on Tyler. He pleads with God for a reprieve from these struggles and can't understand how, if he has already been saved by his Christian faith, his life is riddled with problems how this could be seen as living free. Not only is this line talking about the importance of the morning, but is also a play on word for the word sun, S-O-N and S-U-N, meaning God's sun or the sun in the sky. As we continue, he allows the night to form him and shape his creative processes, the weapon forged in darkness being the pen by which he writes these songs. He sees it as a weapon rather than an instrument to write. Into the pre-chorus. I'll stay awake because the dark's not taking prisoners tonight. Why am I not scared in the morning? I don't hear those voices calling. I must have kicked them out. I must have kicked them out. I swear I heard demons yelling, those crazy words they were spelling. They told me I was gone. They told me I was gone. This pre-chorus speaks towards the cyclical nature of his struggles, and in the morning, the struggles of the night seem distant and out of sight. So much so that he thinks he may even have a permanent victory over these problems. There's a stark contrast in Tyler that doesn't seem to fully recall the pains of the night, saying that he doesn't hear them anymore, even though he could have sworn they were there, almost that they have become unmemorable. Into the chorus. But I'll tell him, why won't you let me go? Do I threaten all of your plans? I'm insignificant. Please tell him you have no plans for me. I will set my soul on fire. What have I become? I'll tell him. He doesn't feel as though he deserves the trials and tribulations that these demons are putting him through, as he doesn't see himself as a significant enough threat to warrant constant attack, a force for good that the demons would need to reckon with. You would think that if demons wanted to attack something, it would be someone who is an affront to their cause and their goals. But Tyler's view of himself and his self-esteem is so low that he doesn't see himself as a threat to much of anything, and is instead willing to negotiate and even apologize for even seeming like he is in the way. On the eve of a day that's forgotten and fake, as the trees they await and clouds anticipate, the start of a day when we put on our face a mask that portrays that we don't need grace, on the eve of a day that is bigger than us, but we open our eyes because we're told that we must, and the trees wave their arms and the clouds try to plead, desperately yelling, there's something we need. I'm not free, I asked forgiveness 3 times, same amount that I denied, I 3-time MVP'd this crime. I'm afraid to tell you who I adore, won't tell you who I'm singing towards. Metaphorically, I'm a whore, and that's denial number 4. You know how hard it is for me to go through these lines without saying it within tempo? It's really difficult. Anyway, a lot to unpack in this second verse. I believe this day of culmination that Tyler is talking about is the day in the Christian belief that when Jesus returns, that all will have to give an account for themselves and their deeds. He reveals his doubt in this day even happening by calling it forgotten and fake. But then he sort of reveals that this is a mask, maybe his ego that fronts this opinion, that portrays he doesn't need grace, that he can either do it himself or that there's no reason to try altogether because it is forgotten and fake. I think that this portion discussing the trees and the clouds needing something refers to a Bible verse in Romans 8. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up into the present time. I think this is further pointing towards an end time scenario. He then goes into a section about his denial and what he's singing about. He asks for forgiveness 3 times, the same amount that he's denied, 3 times. This is referencing another biblical story, the story of Peter, the apostle, who denied Jesus 3 times while he was awaiting his trial. It may take me a minute to explain this line, but I believe that this 4th denial is his decision to use metaphors to talk about his faith rather than be explicit about it. He sees himself using vague allusions and metaphors as sort of a cop-out for him to not have to publicly or explicitly talk about what he actually believes. It's like going around the truth while somewhat referencing it. And I believe that this is what he's talking about when he says that he is calling himself a whore and denying himself the title that God has given him in his forgiveness. That he sees himself as something not deserving of God's forgiveness and grace and not allowing himself to be seen in that reality. And this in turn is a sort of denial. This portion really reminds me of Tally off of Breach for reasons we will discuss later on. Holding On to You. Holding On to You is the second track off of Vessel with a runtime of 4 minutes and 23 seconds, and personally, this song is the most impactful in my own life. This song was made out of a place of doubt for Tyler.
I was looking at some old
entries just to remember where I was coming from, what kind of mind space I was in. And in 2010, there's this one journal entry I talked about. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this music thing. I don't know if it's not really working right now. There's really no light at the end of the tunnel. And the people around me were saying that their time is running out and they wanted to move on to other things. And I started to wonder if my dream was not supposed to happen. And so you can read through the journal as I am kind of just figuring out who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. At the very end of it, it says, but I started working on a new song. And right now the title is called Entertain My Faith. I'm excited about it. So I'm going to keep on working on music. And it turned into this song, Holding On to You.
This track also has a music video which is full of imagery about taking hold of one's hardships and having them work for you and not the other way around, as we'll see in the lyrics. So let's go ahead and get into the first verse. I'm taking over my body, back in control, no more shoddy. I bet a lot of me was lost, T's uncrossed and I's undotted. I fought it a lot, and it seems a lot like flesh is all I got. Not anymore, flesh out the door, swat. I must have forgot you can't trust me. I'm open a moment and close when you show it. Before you know it, I'm lost at sea. And now that I write and think about it and the story unfolds, you should take my life and you should take my soul. This first verse is Tyler in a confident state as he feels himself taking back control of his mind and body. I believe this portion is talking about his negative thoughts are no longer being able to ride shotgun or the front seat in his car. His car being a place that we'll see later on as a place that takes him to either good places or bad places. In his state of new awareness, he's looking back on his past and sees a lot of lost potential, characterized by these uncrossed T's and undotted I's. He used to think that all he was his flesh, his carnal desires, or sin, but no longer. However, just as quickly as these confidences come on, the doubts start to draw in as we see a distinct tonal shift of Tyler saying that he is not to be trusted, that this isn't the only time he's reestablished himself in some sort of confidence and found himself just as lost as he was at the start later on. And as he is writing this, he comes to the realization that maybe this control he felt at the beginning was also just an illusion, which puts him back through the throes of depression. Into the chorus. You are surrounding all my surroundings, sounding down the mountain range of my left side brain. You are surrounding all my surroundings, twisting the kaleidoscope behind both of my eyes. In my opinion, one of the best choruses he's ever written. Now, I think it's abundantly clear that Tyler is talking about God in the song, but if it's something like a friend of yours or family member, that's fine too. Tyler is saying that despite all of these ups and downs of confidences and depression, as seen in verse 1, despite it all, God is surrounding his surroundings. He is everywhere. He is so close to Tyler that in some ways, this makes him harder to see, as something so close to your eyes can be difficult to see. It's interesting that Tyler says that God is sounding down the left side of his brain, as it is primarily the right side of the brain where the majority of the creative processes take place. Instead, he's referencing the left side of his brain, which is associated with logical reasoning and processing. I think this points towards a dependency that Tyler has on focusing on what he knows is true versus what he feels to be true. As previously established, his emotions are constantly pulling him every which way, so he instead chooses to focus on what he knows, as his emotions may be lying to him. A kaleidoscope is one of those kids' toys that make things look different whenever the light hits it and you twist the eyeglass, basically saying that God is making him view the world in a different way. And the chorus is the title of the song. And I'll be holding on to you. Verse 2. Remember the moment you know exactly where you're going, because the next moment before you know it, time is slowing and it's frozen still, and the windowsill looks really nice, right? You think twice about your life, it probably happens at night, right? Fight it, take the pain, ignite it, tie a noose around your mind, loosen up to breathe fine, and tie it to a tree, tell it, you belong to me. This ain't a noose, this is a leash, and I have news for you, you must obey me. These first lines are alluding to thoughts of self-harm and suicide, as the windowsill looking nice could be a reference to causing one's own death from falling from a height of a building or jumping out of a window or something of that nature. And this pain is something that Tyler and his audience are no stranger to, and Tyler himself then provides an alternative. Fight it, take the pain, and ignite it. Subdue your mind to work for you and not the other way around. It is your mind, it is up for you to control it. Come to the end of yourself and choose to make it work for you and not against you. The mind is a powerful tool or a weapon, depending on what it dwells on. And it takes real discipline to move out of the negative tapes and loops our brains play over and over again, and take control of that process and instead focus on what is lovely, which in turn can change your perspective and in turn, again, your whole life. Entertain my faith, entertain my faith. This is perhaps one of the more famous lines that Tyler has ever written, and it will come up again later in Breach. Entertain my faith is basically a desperate plea to God to return some sort of results in response to Tyler's faith in him. That in his darkest moments that have proven his faith, God may show some sort of evidence or presence, or at least an awareness of his sufferings and provide some sort of relief. It's a plea for existential satisfaction. And it's also a plea to his audience to give his story a listen, to entertain his faith, to allow him to speak on his experiences and share with his audience through his music. Into the outro. Lean with it, rock with it, when we gonna stop with it? Lyrics that mean nothing, we were gifted with thought. Is it time to move our feet to an introspective beat? It ain't the speakers that pump hearts, it's the hearts that make the beat. This section is pretty self-explanatory, but he is commenting on the state of music and the music industry as a whole. That most of the music that is produced is mindless and shallow, not getting at any sort of root of people's actual problems in their lives, and instead creating a distraction of material things and wealth that are in turn fleeting. That music, and true music, is an inherent part of being human, as our hearts are something that are foundationally built upon rhythm themselves, the heartbeat. That some primal part of our being as a species is linked towards the mystery of music and how it makes us feel, act, want to change, and develop as individuals. And the band aims to do this through their music to the best of their ability, all while holding on to their values and also their fan base. Which is why you often see them perform this song being held up by just the members in the pit section of their shows. Migraine. Migraine is the third song on the record with a runtime of 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and there's a lot of lyrics with this one. For those who don't know or have not had the unfortunate pleasure or experience of having one, a migraine is basically a headache on steroids. It's a debilitating, mind-shattering super headache that's usually indicative of some larger underlying problems, whether that be extreme stress, anxiety, sickness, or any other medical problems. This song was also originally a poem that Tyler wrote when he in fact had a migraine. He considers the song to be one of his best lyrical works, so let's jump into the intro of the song. Am I the only one I know, waging my wars behind my face and above my throat? Shadows will scream that I'm alone. Tyler is wondering if he is alone in his struggle specifically and those behind his face and above his throat, so his head and his brain. I've got a migraine and my pain will range from up, down, and sideways. Thank God it's Friday, because Fridays will always be better than Sundays, because Sundays are my suicide days. I don't know why they always seem so dismal. Thunderstorms, clouds, snow, and a slight drizzle. Whether it's the weather or the letters by my bed, sometimes death seems better than the migraine in my head. Let it be said what the headache represents. It's me defending its suspense. It's me suspended in a defenseless test, being tested by a ruthless examiner that's best represented by my depressing thoughts. I do not have writer's block. My writer just hates the clock. It will not let me sleep. I guess I'll sleep when I'm dead. And sometimes death seems better than the migraine in my head. Migraines are basically a mental and physical manifestation of a hurricane alarm that something is vastly wrong and the body needs time to recuperate. Tyler is saying that the pain in his head is all-encompassing and inescapable. He uses Sundays as a day of specific depression and oppression, perhaps because these are the days of church or lack thereof, which remind him of his religious problems, or that Sunday stands on the end of reprieve, aka the weekend, and the cusp of the work week and all that that would entail. They also aren't the only ones who think Sundays have this unique quality. It could be the mental or physical storms that are bringing upon this mood as well. He also likens it to the possibility of the letters by his bed. As a Christian, this could be referring to his Bible on his bedside table. Most of the biblical New Testament are letters from the Apostle Paul, so this is what he could be referencing. Although, let me know if you think it's something else. Death or suicide seems like a reprieve for Tyler from this migraine. He feels as though he is both on the offensive and the defensive from these thoughts, being attacked from all sides. He doesn't seem to be able to get any rest, and his method for dealing with these problems, his music, seems to be stalling in its ability to aid in relief, not worrying about the clock. His creativity doesn't worry about time, and his creative processes are forcing him to forego sleep, something that would remediate the migraine symptoms, both physically and emotionally. We then get into the chorus, which is slightly adapted from the intro. Am I the only one I know, waging my wars behind my face and above my throat? Shadows will scream that I'm alone, but I know we've made it this far, kid. Same as before, but he allows himself the grace in knowing that despite all of the problems he has gone through, he has made it this far, made it to this point in time, and wants to continue forward. Like he is speaking directly to the audience that we all as a collective have made it this far despite our own unique hardships that we have individually faced. Verse 2. I am not as fine as I seem. Pardon me for yelling. I'm telling you, green gardens are not what's growing in my psyche. It's a different me, a difficult beast feasting on burnt down trees. Freeze frame. Please let me paint a mental picture portrait, something you won't forget. It's all about my forehead and how it is a door that holds back contents that make Pandora's box contents look non-violent. Behind my eyelids are islands of violence, my mind shipwrecked. This is the only land my mind could find. I did not know it was such a violent island. Bullet tidal waves, suicidal crazed lions. They're trying to eat me, blood running down their chin, and I know that I can fight or I can let the lion win. I begin to assemble what weapons I can find, because sometimes to stay alive, you gotta kill your mind. Okay, this will take some time to explain, but let's look at the first 4 lines before we go any further. Tyler wants the audience to know that mentally it's obviously not going great, shocker, that his mind isn't some sort of green oasis where he is thriving, rather that a part of him, a more devious and maybe perhaps even evil part of him, is roaming around like a beast, destroying forests and trees. Remember this line for when we get to trees as well. As we've already established, trees, as seen in forests and regional at best, are seen as a place of refuge and harmony, a place where God's presence is and community dwells. His doubts and his mental problems take these trees and burn them, destroy any sense of safety and security. The next 4 lines. Pandora's box is an ancient Greek myth in which held all of the evils and curses that were eventually released into the world, causing human suffering. Making his mind akin to Pandora's box is saying that he feels as though the entirety of suffering a man can possibly endure is behind his forehead or inside his brain. Continuing this idea of isolation and suffering, his mind is then described as being islands of violence, something that will also come up later on in the island of Voltsoy in the lore, in which his mind has been shipwrecked. Even in this isolated coastline mental world, these islands are populated by beasts or lions who are out to kill him, and he doesn't know if he will be able to survive them. He does what he can in assembling what weapons he can find, referencing his creative process, but also furthering the theme from holding on to you, that sometimes you have to take your minds and thoughts captive and even cut them off in order to survive. Whether it's depression, anxiety, or something else, it's about not letting your mind control you and instead bending it to your own will. Into the bridge, which includes the more hopeful side of matters. And I will say that we should take a day to break away from all the pain our brain has made the game is not played alone. I said that way too fast, I'm sorry. And I will say that we should take a moment and hold it and keep it frozen and know that life has a hopeful undertone. Tyler is charging the audience to take a step back, take a more objective view outside of the trials overthinking can cause and the narrow vision that you can have, and realize that it's better to fight this battle with people at your side and with community, to realize that there is hope at the end of the tunnel, realize that each mental low is only momentary and won't last forever, to take a proverbial ibuprofen or Excedrin, so to speak, and recover from this migraine. House of Gold. After 3 heavier songs, I think it's time to move on to something a little bit more lighter, don't you think? House of Gold is the 4th song on the record and plays for 2 minutes and 43 seconds and is a letter from Tyler to his mother.
I wrote this song for my mother, and she's a really cool lady. Love you, Mom.
That he promises to take care of her whenever she grows older and is no longer able to care for herself. This song also has a music video in which a lot happens. I don't even know how to begin to analyze it, but let's go into the chorus. She asked me, son, when I grow old, will you buy me a house of gold? And when your father turns to stone, will you take care of me? I will make you queen of everything you see. I'll put you on the map. I'll cure you of disease. It's pretty self-evident what he's saying to his mom. When she grows old, she wants her son to take care of her, to give her a house of gold, even when her husband, Tyler's father, is gone. She wants to know she will be taken care of, and Tyler says that he will give her everything that she can see. Verse 1. Let's say we up and left this town and turned our future upside down. will make pretend that you and me lived ever after happily. This is also pertaining to Tyler's response to his mother, although he is doubtful. What if he is saying that he cannot provide this future if this music thing doesn't work out, and all the wealth and security that comes with that? But even in that scenario, they can at least pretend to be well off and live happily ever after. Verse 2. And since we know that dreams are dead and life turns plans up on their head, I will plan to be a bum so I just might become someone. He doesn't see his dream as feasible and sees life as being cruel in that it has a way of taking human-laid plans and making them obsolete. He believes that he can cheat this game in a way if he plans instead to be a bum. That way, when life tries to throw a curveball and throw away his plans, it may actually lead to the security that they're actually wanting. It's a sweet song to his mother. Everyone say, "Aww."
Love you, man.
Car radio. Alright, enough mushy gushy, back into the pits of depression. Car Radio, probably the most famous song off this record, clocks in at 4 minutes and 27 seconds. And here is Tyler explaining the inspiration and the story behind this song.
My car radio did get stolen from my car, and when you remove music from your situation to distract you, I don't know if you're like me, but when you get into a car, you kind of just turn music on. It's just what you do. And I wasn't able to do that for a while, and it was the weirdest, session of my life where I couldn't have anything distract me when I was in the car. And when that happens, you kind of let your mind go and think, and sometimes it's scary.
I ponder of something great, my lungs will fill and then deflate. They fill with fire, exhale desire. I know it's dire, my time today. I have these thoughts so often I ought to replace that slot with what I once bought, because somebody stole my car radio and now I just sit in silence. Did a little bit too much of the rhythm on that one. Tyler is left alone with just his thoughts as he sits in his car without the distraction of music and a radio. I see this line as him being filled with zeal and courage, but as he stews on it, this flame becomes just an ember. This zeal just turns into desire, a wish. Instead of action, it transforms into a wish for action, despite how crucial and little time he actually has. Car radio can essentially be a metaphor for anything that is a coping device that allows us to not have to listen to the voices in our own heads. When that coping mechanism is taken away, all the mental noise comes along with it. This forces a person to be in silence and left alone with their thoughts. Verse 1. Sometimes quiet is violent. I find it hard to hide it. My pride is no longer inside. It's on my sleeve, my skin will scream, reminding me of who I killed inside my dream. I hate this car that I'm driving. There's no hiding for me. I'm forced to deal with what I feel. There is no distraction to mask what is real. I could pull the steering wheel. It's a sort of ironic paradox. When there is a lot of noise to distract, there is a sense of mental peace, but when there is no noise, there is violence. I think this line could be alluding to self-harm, but I also think it could be pointing towards his tattoos. His tattoos carry important stories of his life and moments of triumph and defeat, or he could simply be saying that his emotions are on his sleeve. But he feels as though the person he was when he got those tattoos is being betrayed in some way by a current self who is disregarding any of the progress this past self has made. This mental battle is so great, in fact, that he considers pulling the steering wheel to what we can assume to be off-road or into a oncoming traffic lane in order to get this silence to end. I ponder of something terrifying, because this time there's no sound to hide behind. I find over the course of human existence, one thing consists of consistence, and it's that we're all battling fear. Oh dear, I don't know if we know why we're here. Oh my, too deep, please stop thinking. I liked it better when my car had sound. There are things we can do, but from the things that work, there are only two. And from the two that we choose to do, peace will win and fear will lose. And there's faith and there's sleep. We need to pick one, please, because faith is to be awake, and to be awake is for us to think. For us to think is to be alive, and I will try with every rhyme to come across like I am dying, to let you know you need to try to think. I like to point out from verse to verse, Tyler seems to transition from a commentary on himself and his personal problems towards commenting on the state of society and humankind as a whole. This, coupled with the rising nature of the song, just presents this building and building feeling until we reach the beat drop of the bridge. If anything, humans are consistent. Everyone has something that they fear, something that is a lifelong battle. Although what they fear may change as they age, the act of fear itself and what it produces in the human body and mind remains the same. We then transition into a question of existential purpose. Tyler sees two options in the face of this question, faith or sleep. Faith being a faith in a higher power, a higher good that transcends one's current sufferings and promises a better future. And the other option is to sleep or to ignore the question altogether, or this could be a metaphor for dying. Each have their own problems. Tyler references the philosopher Rene Descartes in the I think therefore I am, that the ability to produce thought is one of the factors that indicates an existence, or at least an aware existence. You have to have faith in order to think, not necessarily in God, but faith in some sort of order or purpose of things, and I'm being very generic here. He also implies that part of faith is tackling the problems that thinking can bring head on. However, he wants to come across as much as possible as someone who is asleep, so that the listener is prompted towards introspection. This portion is very similar to the end of Clear in that Tyler is using his music as a prompt to the listener to think about foundational questions in their lives. Sem-Automatic. Sem-Automatic is the sixth song at the halfway point in Vessel and is 4 minutes and 3 seconds long. This song is about two sides of oneself. One part of the body is automatic and the other is something that is outside of automatic discipline and habits. The parts of you that you need to be fine-tuned and disciplined or worked on for the progression of one's character and development. Night falls with gravity, the earth turns from sanity. Taking my only friend I know, he leaves a lot, his name is Hope. Going back to the themes of night and departure from peace, with the night comes the departure of the sun, the departure of the day, also known as hope. Into the chorus. I'm never what I like, I'm double-sided, and I just can't hide. I kinda like it when I make you cry, 'cause I'm twisted up inside. The chorus is a reminiscent of another Bible verse in Romans 7, which is a letter from Paul, as referenced in Migraine. I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. As it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is the sinful nature living within me. He is split in two, between the parts of himself that wants to do and be good and the part that enjoys his shortcomings, his faults, and his harm to himself or others. Kind of like a Jekyll-Hyde situation, something that certainly comes into play with the embodiment of Blurryface. He admits some sick part of him enjoys making other people cry. Maybe lashing out in anger verbally or being emotionally dismissive gives him some sort of sick pleasure or feeling of control. It's the carnal parts of our nature that secretly enjoy doing bad things, whether it's to ourselves or to others. We then go into the second verse, which details the daytime. The horrors of the night melt away under the warm glow of survival of the day. Then we move on. My shadow grows taller along with my fears, and my frame shrinks smaller as night grows near. When the sun is climbing windowsills, and the silver lining rides the hills, I will be saved for one whole day until the sun makes the hills its graves. With the day comes reprieve and relief from the terrors of the night. However, even in this time, there is a longing shadow, a fear for the night. His confidence shriek as the day progresses, as he will inevitably have to fight the battles of the night once again. Bridge. I'm semi-automatic, my prayers schizophrenic, but I'll live on, yeah I'll live on, yeah I'll live on. This is once again Tyler acknowledging his split nature. He then addresses his religious doubts by identifying his prayers as schizophrenic. Now there's a lot of different types of different schizophrenia, but for the sake of this interpretation, I believe he's essentially saying that his prayers are 1, hard to follow or illogical, and 2, being directed towards someone or something that does not exist in actuality or reality. But despite this, he chooses to live on. By the time the night wears off, the dust is down and shadows burn. I will rise and stand my ground, waiting for the night's return. We're back into the confidence of the day. This song is melodically full of juxtaposition, just like the lyrics. Most of the section Tyler is describing the peace of the daytime are slower and more piano-focused, whereas the chaos of the night sections and his split persona are accompanied by the sporadically beeping electronics and fast-paced drums of Josh. The recurring themes of cycle and split desires is put on full display in this song. Screen. Screen is the ukulele-centered track 7 that plays for 3 minutes and 49 seconds. This song is pretty self-explanatory, so we'll go through it a little bit quicker, but let's go ahead and go into the first verse. I do not know why I would go in front of you and hide my soul. because you're the only one who knows it, yet you're the only one who knows it. And I will hide behind my pride. Don't know why I think I could lie. Because there's a screen on my chest. Yes, there's a screen on my chest. The audience of this song is either God or a close loved one, or someone like Jenna, his wife. Probably God due to the continual religious imagery in the song. Whoever Tyler is singing to is someone who knows him intimately, enough to see past whatever walls he's putting up. He can put up whatever affront he wants, but at the end of the day, he has a screen on his chest, like a TV that's directly communicating what is actually going on within his soul and his emotions. I'm standing in front of you, I'm standing in front of you, I'm trying to be so cool, everything together trying to be so cool. But nothing can be hidden from his creator, who fully and completely knows his whole being, even better than Tyler himself. Verse 2. I can't see past my own nose. I'm seeing everything in slow-mo. Look out below, crashing down to the ground, just like a vertical locomotive. That's a train. Am I painting the picture that's in my brain? A train from the sky, a locomotive. My motives are insane. My flow's not great. Okay, I conversate with people who know if I flow on a song, I'll get no radio play. While you're doing fine, there's some people and I who have a really tough time getting through this life, so excuse us while we sing to the sky. Here Tyler is basically saying he can't see past himself or his current situation. He seems to be frantically trying to explain his mental state as a train falling from the sky. It is showcasing the mania of his depressive state that he's in. The strange comparison is backed up by his doubts in his own abilities and artistry, and his relationships that don't benefit him from a business standpoint. The end of the song transitions into a portion of collective reprieve and knowing that these problems are not isolated incidents or situations, but are instead something that a community can come together and unite under one experience. That everyone deals with hardships and puts on a front that they are doing fine, when in reality, to the people around us who know us best, we have screens on our chest that expose who we actually are and how we actually feel.
This song coming up, this song is off of an album called Vessel. It's my dad's favorite song, so I hope you bring it.
The Run and Go. The Run and Go is the 8th track on Vessel and is also 3 minutes and 49 seconds long, go figure. This song will also not require a ton of explanation, yet it is kind of hard to explain. I feel like this album is made up of songs that either require a lot of explanation or little to none. Anyway, verse 1. I can't take them on my own. I'm not the one you know. I have killed a man and all I know is I am on the run and go. We could assume that he's talking about his mental demons here, and there is a connotation of guilt in his voice. He says that he's killed a man. I believe that this could be a reference to himself and his mind, as a constant theme throughout this record is that sometimes to stay alive you've got to kill your mind. But on the other hand, this could be about religious guilt, similar to what we see a lot on the self-titled album about feeling some sort of responsibility in Jesus' death.
I could also see how potentially with him saying "paw" here, that this conversation is between him and his father. As you've heard in the previous clip, he said this was his dad's favorite song. It would be interesting to see why that is, if this is the case, that it could be because this whole song is based around a conversation he had with his dad about his problems and confiding in his father on how to deal with these issues.
The chorus. Don't want to call you in the nighttime, don't want to give you all my pieces, don't want to hand you all my trouble, don't want to give you all my demons. You'll have to watch me struggle from several rooms away, but tonight I need you to stay. He doesn't want any help and wants to do this all alone because this other person couldn't possibly understand what he's dealing with. The song Back to Back with Screen is interesting in the track lineup, and I think it's very purposeful. He says that this person or God will have to watch from a distance, and he reluctantly seems to ask them to stay at the end of this section, despite his belief that they could not understand what he's going through. Into the bridge. Cold nights under siege from accusations, cerebral thunder, and one-way conversations. This part speaks to self-deprecation and the thoughts and the throes of depression. Cold could mean physically as in temperature or emotionally cold. Either way, it's a time when his mind is berating him for his actions and guilting him into a submission. His mind is in a storm, and these one-way conversations are like his schizophrenic prayers as seen in Sem-Automatic, received by no one, shouting into the void. He feels like he always is constantly running away, like he's wanted for some sort of crime that he may or may not have committed. Fake you out. Fake You Out, track 9, 3 minutes 51 seconds. I want to drive away. In the night, headlights call my name. Tyler wants to leave his current situation, and the headlights calling to him is a reference back to, oh man, give me a second. It's a car, a torch of death. I think that this is either he feels called to drive in the opposite direction with the rest of the headlights, the pull of selling out for fame or something, or to swerve into oncoming traffic. Honestly, could be any of these three meanings, or all of them at the same time. The pre chorus: I'll never be what you see inside. You say I'm not alone, but I am petrified. You say that you are close, as close to the closest star. You just feel twice as far. You just feel twice as far. This is Tyler in doubt that he could ever be the person that God knows that he is. God's reassurance to him is not enough for him to emotionally put his guard down or find peace. He questions God. You're as close as the closest star. Like, yes, you are close, but relatively speaking, you are very far away. Like, outside of the sun in our solar system, the closest star to Earth is over 4 light years away. But technically, I guess it's still close, but it's still pretty far away. And I'll fall down, and I'll break down, and I'll fake you out all I wanna. I believe that in this chorus, his audience is probably both God and the listener. He will fake out God, or at least feel like he is, in order to get some sort of divine peace and understanding his life. While on the other hand, he will fake out his audience by constantly expressing his doubts and his unshakable beliefs at the same time in what he truly believes. It's like a game where he feels like he has to say or do the right things in order to receive peace. This contrast is seen throughout their music, as in some songs like Clear or Holding On to You, he expresses a clear trust in God despite his circumstances, while there are also plenty of other examples of tracks that he has made expressing a full fall away from his faith. Verse 2: I'm so afraid of what you have to say, because I am quiet now, and silence gives you space. The title and theme of this song, being of a fake out, is put on full display here, as throughout this track we don't really get a sense of who exactly or what exactly he is trying or talking about. These lines could be about his demons, as silence has already been seen as a prerequisite for hard struggles, while on the other hand, this could be Tyler talking to God about fearing judgment or disapproval, and silence is something God uses in his life to force Tyler to seek him out. Fake out either way. Something I've never really considered until writing and analyzing the song for myself. Continuing the fake out, the bridge section is out of left field musically and catches the listener off guard. It's the same game today as it always is. I don't give these places fake my name explaining this, and the wrists of my mind have the bleeding lines that remind me of all the times I've committed dirty, dirty crimes that are perfectly form-fitted to what I've done and what I'm doing. I'm brewing and losing and spewing and fusing, and believe me, that's what all the kids are doing. What kids are doing, they're killing themselves. They feel they have no control of their prisoner cell. And if you're one of them, then you're one of me, and you would do almost anything to feel free. Am I right? Of course I am. Convince me otherwise. We'll take all night. Before you walk away, there's one more thing I want to say. Our brains are sick, but that's okay. Tyler talks about the never-ending cycle, the same thing every day. Not super sure what this line is meaning, so let me know if you have any thoughts. The wrists with bleeding lines in his mind is an analogy for traumatic experiences that haunt Tyler of his past mistake, how he has never really moved on from acting in a similar fashion. I also think this could be about bleeding lines, as in lyrics he has written in his head that come from the same traumatized headspace. All of this being compared to a self-harm mechanism. He then is pretty openly honest about his struggle with suicidal thoughts and how the culture is full of people that feel the same way, but he emphasizes that they are not alone and they shouldn't give in to those thoughts. This song, accompanied by the previous track, Sem-Automatic, paints this picture of a sanity that is wearing thin. He's developing a persona that embodies his mental cracks and fractures, something that would fully embody itself in the character of Blurryface or Nico. Going to the final 3 tracks of this body of work, we have what I would argue is the most important 3-track run in any of the band's works. Guns for Hands. Guns for Hands is the 10th song and goes on for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. This is another fan favorite song and is also one of the band's favorite to play. This song is about taking negative energy in your life and focusing that power into something good rather than at oneself. This is also the longest commentary track, as Tyler has a lot to say about what this track means to others and himself and the backstory behind how he wrote this track. Tyler said this in an interview, and I can't show it for copyright reasons, but this is what he said. I know you have the ability to hurt yourself, I recognize that, but let's take that energy and let's point it at something else. Let's divert that. Let's kind of shift momentum and look at something like art or something like this music specifically, or even point it at me. Just point it anywhere, but don't point it at yourself. Let's keep this in the background of our minds as we go into track 1. I know what you think in the morning when the sun shines on the ground and shows what you have done. It shows where your mind has gone. And you swear to your parents that it will never happen again. I know what that means. I know. I'll paint a picture of the scenario I believe this song is presenting. There is an individual waking up in the morning in the ruins of a night before, and within the context of this song, I believe this scenario is involving self-harm, as it portrays concerned parents who this individual swears something like this will never happen again. This person was in a trance-like state and lost control of their bodily autonomy, and only in the light of day do they realize how far they had actually gone. Tyler is saying that he's heard this thing before and the oaths given to loved ones in order to have them to stop worrying. That you all have guns and you never put the safety on, and you all have plans to take it, don't take it, take it. So what are the guns? The guns are not necessarily physical, real guns. I mean, they could be, but they are instead a representative of the capacity of someone to cause harm to themselves. It is an unchecked desire or weapon within people that they point back to themselves, figuratively speaking. Here, he is encouraging them to abandon their plans and to not point that gun at themselves. I'm trying to sleep, but I can't when you all have guns for hands. In the Vessel commentary, Tyler talks about a specific instance early in the band's career where they were confided in by a group of teenagers who particularly struggled with suicidal thoughts and self-harm. This moment seemed to have had a profound impact on the band early on going forward, so much so that his concern for these people in his audience makes him forego sleep as he is worried at what they are capable of doing to themselves if they ever decide to. But he wants to provide them with an alternative. In verse 2. Let's take this a second at a time. Let's take this one song, this one rhyme. Together, let's breathe, together to the beat. But there's hope out the window, so that's where we'll go. Let's go outside and all join hands, but until then, you'll never understand. This verse is about slowing down and taking a breath, to use music as sort of a coping mechanism to release some of the anger and sadness people are holding inside and letting fester and in turn hurting themselves. Saying that their hope is outside the window to me means that hope is found outside of one's own comfort zone or own personal prisons. I'm reminded of Forest by these lines as well from Regional at Best. Into the final part of the song, the bridge. We've turned our hands to guns, traded our thumbs for ammunition. I must forewarn you of my disorder, or my condition, because when the sun sets, it upsets what's left of my invested interested in putting my fingers to my head. The solution is I see a whole room of these mutant kids. Fused at the wrist, I simply tell them that they should shoot at this. Simply suggest my chest and this confused music. It's obviously best for them to turn their guns to a fist. Again, a hand physically transforming itself into a gun represents the capacity within a person to cause physical harms to themselves. He changes the subject to we, as he wants the audience to know that this is something that he struggles with as well, rather than an I or me mentality. That in the night times, whether the physical or mental ones, he finds himself interested in putting his fingers to his head, focusing the raw negative energy onto himself in an outward expression of self-harm. Then we move into the solution he presents. Not really a solution, but something other than harming oneself. He sees the fuse getting smaller and smaller, indicating an explosion or discharge of this firearm very soon, and he even offers himself as a target, as well as his music. This is speaking to the cathartic nature of music as an outlet to explain and release things that words by themselves cannot. It's a plea to aim these guns at anything but themselves. Turning the gun into a fist could have multiple different interpretations. Turning their guns into fists is turning a weapon into a less threatening thing, a fist. But it could also mean turning those desires of self-harm into something more productive, and instead using their fists metaphorically to fight back against depression. Or, I could also see it as turning this energy into something more creative, or at least some other healthier outlet, as the hands are the primary instrument by which people create and interact with their environment. It's acknowledging that those guns for hands do exist, but that they should not aim it at themselves, but at instead something else.
Stupid, honestly. A question Josh and I get a lot is, what's your favorite song to play live? And for some reason, we both get to pick this song coming up. I don't know why it is. I think it has something to do with the fact that we can play an entire set, feel like we have nothing left, that we've given everything we have, but then we get to this song and for some reason it feels like the set has completely started over. And this song gives us that energy and that strength that we're looking for a lot of times. You guys got one more in you?
Trees. Trees is the second to last song on the album, track 11, with a runtime of 4 minutes and 27 seconds. Trees is always the very last song the band performs at any show ever, period. For this reason, I would contend it's one of the most important 21 Pilots songs. They would not be 21 Pilots if they did not play this at the ending of a show. There are two main interpretations of this song, but I will mainly be covering the religious components, as it is what I find to be the most compelling and correct within the context of this album and the song as a whole, but other people see this as a metaphor for social anxiety, which could also be the case. The capitalization of certain pronouns, however, in the official written lyrics confirms that it is a religious meaning. Verse 1. I know where you stand, silent in the trees, and that's where I am, silent in the trees. Why won't you speak where I happen to be? Silent in the trees, standing cowardly. Now we've discussed trees, not the song, the actual tree being used in multiple songs before, like Forest, Ode to Sleep, and others. Forest shows trees as a place of refuge and harmony, a place to come together and rally under one common idea. And in Ode to Sleep, trees are anthropomorphized into beings that await Judgment Day and the return of God. In this case, the trees in Trees, the song, are similar in that they are a place where Tyler is in search of purpose and higher power. He even admits in multiple interviews to going into the woods, just searching for something, waiting for something to show up and tell him something. In the lyrics, however, both parties are present within these trees, Tyler and God, but both are silent. He vents his frustration on why God isn't speaking directly to him and his situation, not where he is in a physical sense, but an emotional and spiritual location of isolation and loneliness, where he happens to be. I believe in this line he is talking about his own location, standing cowardly in the trees. It's important to remember that Tyler knows God is there and is not doubting his presence as we see in a lot of the previous songs. I can feel your breath, I can feel my death. I want to know you, I want to see, I want to say hello. Even still, he is stuck in this in-between place of feeling God's closeness while also feeling his death, feeling worthless and struggling to stay alive. He then expresses his desire to know, see, and speak to God. It's a submission of sorts. See, throughout this album, Tyler has been asking that God would be the one to know, see, and speak to him. But now Tyler is the one that is in turn pursuing God with these notions. Rather than complain about God's inactivity towards him, he is instead taking initiative and choosing to pursue God with what he feels he is lacking in. He wants to do these things, but we never really get an answer if he does. We never really know if God says hello back, or if he continues to sit there quietly waiting for God to speak to him. Rather than say hello first, he could still be instead standing cowardly in the trees. But I guess it's up for you to decide. Truce. Now the night is coming to an end. The sun will rise and we will try again. Stay alive for me. You will die, but now your life is free. Take pride in what is sure to die. I will fear the night again. I hope I'm not my only friend. Truce. The final song on the record, 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Track 12, the closer on Vessel. Truce is a quiet piano ballad written by Tyler to his fans specifically. It's a negotiation or a ceasefire, as the name implies, a truce. The terms of agreement in this truce is that Tyler's audience continue to stay alive even if it's just for him. The morning is on the doorstep. A new day, a new opportunity has presented itself. A new opportunity to try again. Tyler is acknowledging the inevitability of death, but for now, you are free, you are alive. Take pride in what is sure to die goes back to the idea that sometimes to stay alive, you've got to kill your mind. In order to grow and develop as a person, parts of you, whether that is worldview, habits, or rhythms, will have to die and pass on as you develop. Take pride in what is sure to die. Take pride in the fleeting night. The night is coming to an end. It will die. Live your life alive rather than living your life like it's already over, like you're already dead. This idea, this truce, gets us into the overture of the album as a whole. So let's discuss what Vessel is all about.
But the one one thing that can continue to help us is knowing that we're not alone in what it is we're going through. We've said that all the time at every show we've played, even if I'm just saying it to 2 other people who are out there. Now I'm saying it to 300 people, and it still means that much more.
Vessel itself is a living exercise of what the band is wanting their mentally struggling audience to put into practice, taking the things in their lives that are less than ideal, the valleys of mental health and traumatic situations, and morph it into something useful for you and for those around you. Vessel is the conglomeration of Tyler and Josh's problems and shaping and forming it into something that can not only help themselves by expressing it and self-expression, but help others in terms of providing cathartic music experiences. Kind of like the idea of a kitchen sink. So let's go back and revisit what that means.
There was a song that I wrote. It's on a demo type thing that it's out there somewhere online. However, the kids are getting music these days. And it's called Kitchen Sink, and there's a line that says, "A kitchen sink to you is not a kitchen sink to me." Now this is deep. Ready? This is to sandwich my Dumb and Dumber answer that I had earlier. I feel like our generation of people, we struggle with some things. We struggle with a lot of suicide and depression, and not that I claim to be any sort of professional opinion on those topics, but what I found out is those two issues are really centered around the idea of purpose. What's the purpose? Like, what's the point? We have a lot of questions, big questions, right? And we don't have the answers to those questions, and that can really discourage us as young kids that are wanting answers to questions. So I found out, it's like, well, how can I create purpose for myself? Because I feel like if I had purpose, I'd be able to conquer these two things. And I found through art that you can create the beginning of purpose for you. Not all of purpose, because that's just such a huge thing. But the beginning of purpose can be found by creating something that only you understand. For example, in your darkest hour, when you're trying to figure out whether or not it's worth it to stay alive or just to give up, if you have something that you've created and you know that you're the only person on this earth that can explain that thing, then that can be the thing that you hold on to, and that can be the thing that can help you get through that moment of your darkest hour, I like to call it. So for me, something happened to me at a kitchen sink that was it was awesome, it was good, it was emotional, it was great. But the point is, I used that moment to help me get through my tough times, because the point is, I'm not going to tell you what happened at that kitchen sink. A kitchen sink to you is not a kitchen sink to me.
The act of creating is seen as an antidote to giving up. For Tyler and for Josh, this album is a living proof of this mentality. They've transformed their struggles and packaged it into an album with 2 old men on it. 2 old men that remind us that life is fleeting. Life is something to experience alive, not as if you are already dead, as previously mentioned in Truce. We are all vessels, a container for holding something. What you and I hold is something different, and the mentality of this album is that it is our responsibility and privilege to manifest whatever that thing is into the material realm, for others and for yourself to experience. Though the nights grow long and dark and don't seem to end, the morning always comes. That is the cycle of life. In regard to the band's music, a cycle is about to start in more ways than one. Was this the intention from the beginning? See what I did there? As we move on into the other albums, keep Truce in your mind. Blurry Face is about to begin. A new cycle, or old cycle, will start again. This time with a dedicated lore and a 10-year story told through music videos.
Here we are again. We've got to stop meeting at 1:34 a.m. I'm staying up editing this. It's rendering now. It's almost done. But just thank you to anyone who's watched this all the way through, of course. If you haven't already, please check out the other videos of the self-titled 2009 album and the Regional at Best album. I hope to get the Blurry Face one out soon. The holidays are kind of coming up, so that might complicate things. And it's crazy to think that I've only barely, I haven't even gotten to the halfway point yet for all the songs. I want to kind of lay out that I'm doing album by album, obviously, but at the end I want to combine them all into one like super long video. And in that super long video, I hope to provide all the singles that were provided along the way. So this would be like Level of Concern, Heathens, Christmas Saves the Year, you know, those kinds of songs. Those will be in the all-encompassing video of all the albums, if and when we ever get to that point, because we've got quite a long way to go. But again, if you've even just stopped by just from the lore video, or you've been watching this whole series all the way through, I appreciate you for watching. It takes me a lot of time to put this together. Just from a script standpoint, I think the script is already at about 65, 70 pages, combining all the songs. But yeah, thank you for joining. Please stick around if you want to see more, and Blurry Face will be next. So see you then.